a new Java project. Okay, and call it day 2. All right. And in this project, we'll look at few concepts of oops. Oops is the backbone of Selenium. Okay, without oops, you cannot just write Selenium commands. You should be knowing what classes are and how do we use those classes, how do we create the objects, what is static, what is non-static, and how actually it is implemented, how actually static and non-static works in the real-time world. Right. So let me just go forward. Just a minute. Yeah. Let me just go forward and expand this day 2. Under the source folder, I'll just create a new Java file. This is a little slow, my Eclipse. Just a minute. I'll create a new class, right? And I'll simply name it as say city. Fine. Now I don't have a main function in the city class. Okay, I haven't created it. Okay, so what are the properties of a city? You can say that fine. City has a name. City has a population. Fine. So this is these are the just two properties of a city class. Okay. Now we can make objects in Java, right? For example, I'll make a new class known as test city with the main function. Main function means that it is executable, right? So I will use the city class in this particular class. You can do that. You can use one class inside another class. Okay, that is possible. So I am going to create the, you can say, object of city class over here. Now, what do you mean by object? The book definition is that it is the instance of a class. If you read any Java book, they'll tell you it's an instance of a class. But how exactly that instance is helpful and how do we work in Selenium? Okay, with that, that's what I'm going to talk about. Right, what I'll do is that I'll create the object like this, new city. So when you write like this, you create the object of the city class. But is this object helpful and practically, just a minute. Yeah. Practically what happens in the memory when you create the object, because you can create as many objects as you want. Fine. So I've created 3 objects over here. Okay. If I talk about practicality and how this is used practically, then uh, guys, just a minute. Then just a minute, guys. There is something which is hanging my PC. Yeah. So over here, what happens is that in the memory, an object is formed. Okay, I won't use this. Something is hanging in my PC. Sorry. So in the memory, what happens is that one object is formed. Okay, whenever you write new city, one object would be formed. Okay, and if I'm writing three times, then 3 objects would be formed. Each object would have the name and the city properties. Okay. So each object would have a name and a city. So out here, you cannot access these objects. These objects are just hanging in the memory. You can't just access these objects like this. Okay, these are hanging in the memory. So you have to do like this: city C1 equals to new city. You have to give them an object reference with which you can access these objects. City C1, C2, C3. So C1, C2, C3 become the object references. Okay, so they point towards the objects, right? So this is a C1, this is C2, this is C3. Object and object reference is different. Okay, please don't say that C1 is the object of city class. It is the object reference. The left side has got a different memory location and the right side is different. But with C1, you can access the objects. Like you can write C1 dot, you will get the name property. Okay, you can give the city some name. Okay, C1 dot population, you can give some number. So what will happen is that in the memory, the name for this city would become London and it will have some population. Okay, the second parameter is not city, it is actually population. I'm sorry, right? This is population. So every city would have a name and a population parameter, every object. Okay, so you can give both of these some values with the help of these references. You can write over here C2 dot, you will also get the name. So I'll write C2 dot population, thing like this. Okay, so the second city name will become Tokyo, population will become okay. And similarly, you can assign some values to C3 as well, right? Okay, so the third city becomes Delhi with some population. With the help of C1, C2, C3, you can change the state of objects. You can retrieve the state. Okay, if I have to print the city name, the command is city system.out.println. You can write c1.name and c2.name, c3.name. So every object you are creating with the help of reference, you can change the values inside the object and you can also retrieve the values. So when you run this code, when you run this prints all the three city names. Although the city class is just having two parameters, name and population, but every object you create for the city class can have a different name and a different population. So you can create as many objects you want. Okay, I hope you got my point out here. Okay, now as I told you in the memory, the object is different and the object reference is different. Okay, what do you mean by saying the object is different and object reference is different? Out here, uh, Just a minute. If I write C1 equals to C3. Now, what does this mean? This means that technically C1 will no longer point towards this location. It will point towards the location where C3 is pointing. Okay, right. So one object can have two object references. C1 and C3 are two object references which can point towards one object and both can change the state. If I now run the same code, that c1.name, c2.name, and all the three names, if I print, see, it will print Delhi, Tokyo, Delhi. So for C1 and C3, it is printing the same name. Okay, so object is different, object reference is different, reference can point towards one or the other object. Okay, so out here, one object can have multiple references as well. Right. So now, if you initialize an object, you can also write like this, that is, say, city C4 equals to null. That means C4 is an object reference which is not pointing to anywhere. Okay, and if you write C4 equals to new city, now it points towards an object. Okay, now sometimes what happens is that as a beginner, you really don't know what null is. Null means nothing. Okay, it means that it is not pointing anywhere. Okay, and if I just write over here c4 dot name, and if I run this, I will get a null pointer exception. So a null pointer exception, if you get in your program, okay, which almost everyone will certainly get as a beginner when you write complex scripts, it means that there is some object which is not initialized and you are trying to access the properties. Okay, there is some reference which is not pointing to any object. Okay, and it also tells you the line number on which this error is coming up. If you click on it, the line number gets highlighted as well. Okay, so please avoid this. Null pointer should always be avoided, right? And out here, if you write e4 dot, hold on, just a minute, forget about this. Right, now let's come back to the city class. Now, technically, this variable is known as a global non-static variable. That is, it is outside any function, and this is global non-static variable. Why global? Because this class can also have functions. For example, I can have a functions known as public void print city details. So this is a non-static function. What is static? I'm going to tell you in some time. So these variables are outside this function. So these variables are known as the global variables, global non-static variables, and this is a non-static function. Okay, now what do you mean by non-static? And what about this function? This function would also be a part of every object. Okay, if I open the out here, so every object would also have this print city details function within it. All right. So if I write inside this particular function system.out.println, print the name, and I concatenate it with the population. Plus is a concatenation operator. Okay, I am printing a variable concatenated to a string, right? And then I'm also printing a variable. So if I run this, sorry, if I and in the end I give the command like c1 dot print details, c2 dot and c3 dot print details. So when you run this, see, when c1 is calling, it will print, it's printing the details of c1, and when c2 is calling, it is printing the details of c2. Okay, now if c1 changes the state of the object, if I write c1 dot name is Moscow. Okay, c1 and c3 are pointing towards the same object. So if I run this, c1 and c3 would have the same name. It's bit logical. Okay, I think you are able to follow. If you are not able to follow, you can ask me questions, right? Okay, now suppose your voice is very low. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, am I
Yes,
audible now?
yes.
Yeah, Ashish, can you please explain why the function was a non-static one?
I will tell you what is static in some time. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Okay. Now coming over to what is static and what is non-static. Okay. Suppose there is a variable, say um, int number of, or for example, int capital city. So suppose this city class is only representing capital cities. So this variable will represent that whether it is capital city or not. So whenever I create the object, okay, suppose we are only dealing in capital cities. So I write c1 dot capital city is yes. Okay, or I can take a boolean type as well. Guys, please keep your microphones on mute. Please check your microphones. If they are not mute, please mute them. Otherwise, the recording is disrupted. Right. So similarly, I can write c2 dot capital city equals to yes. Fine. And then c3 dot capital city equals to yes. So basically, we are only dealing with capital cities. We know that whatever object we are going to create, suppose, is going to be of capital cities, or suppose the name of this class. You rename this class. In order to rename this class, just click on the class and hit F2. F2, with F2 you can rename it. Okay, you can write over here, this is capital city. Okay, and when you hit next, make sure update references is clicked. Okay, click on finish. So this class would be renamed, and wherever this class is used, see, I was creating the objects, right? This will also be changed. Okay, so if you rename a class or something, wherever the class is used in your entire project, that would also be changed. So suppose all the cities over here are capital cities, and I'm unnecessarily putting a variable inside every object known as capital city over here. I know that the value of this variable is going to be yes. Okay, but still I am putting it in each object. Okay, so what we do is that we make it static. Static means that this is not the part of the object. It is something which is going to be a part of the class, a property of the class. It is something which is going to be common for all the objects. Okay. and this variable is known as global static variable. And if you open your test city class, see you will start getting warnings over here. You will get warnings out here, and out here. These warnings basically tell you that fine, this variable is static. This variable has moved maybe to some other memory location like this. Okay, okay, I should write capital city. Okay, this variable has moved to this memory location, and this memory location can be accessed by any of the objects. Okay, so you make it static and then you don't access it this way. It's not allowed. You will get a warning. Best way to access static things are with the name of the class. You can write capital city dot. You will get the name capital city. That means all the cities are capital cities. Okay, I hope you got my point. So if you have a variable, you make it static, it becomes same for all the objects. And you can access the variable directly with the class name. And not only this, you can have static functions as well. You can have public static void. I can have any static function like this. All right. And inside this particular function, you can simply print anything. Okay, and this function is a static function. And this function can be called directly with the name of the class. That is capital city dot xyz. Right. So I hope the picture is slightly clear in your minds. Right. That what is an object and what is static, what is non-static. Okay, static is something which can be accessed directly with the name of the class, and non-static is something which is which has to be accessed with the object. Okay, right. Now over here, mostly in case of Selenium, we work with 80% of the times we work with the objects. Okay, and how these objects will be helpful. Okay, in case of Selenium, we will look at that now. Okay, that fine. We saw how to create objects, but what do we do when we are working with Selenium? How do we create the objects and all? Right. For that, you know, firstly, I'm going to add the jar files of Selenium in the project like we did yesterday, all the jars under lib folder and all the jars under this. So we saw what objects are, and we now we will see how we can use these objects in Selenium. Okay, now in case of Selenium, if you go to their official website, and if you go to the download section, you scroll down under Java, these are the API docs. This is the official documentation. Fine, you can switch to the frames view. Right. So over here, these are all the classes which are there in Selenium. Okay, all the classes. Look, I also don't remember all of them. Okay, but these are all the classes, and if you scroll down, you will see something known as web driver written. Okay, and if you click on web driver, this is the interface web driver. Right. Now, these are the implementing classes. Right. What do you mean by implementing classes? I'll tell you, but basically these are the classes in Selenium. Each class represents one particular browser. For example, Chrome driver is for Chrome, and Internet Explorer driver is for Opera driver, Safari driver, Firefox driver. So there is a driver class which is mentioned over here. Okay, and this each driver class represents one browser. What do you mean by interface web driver? I will tell you in 1 or 2 days. You'll come to know what is exactly interface as well. Okay, but these are the major classes with which we will be working. All right. For example, there is a class known as Firefox driver. Okay. In my PC, right? Hold on. I'll create a new file known as Selenium drivers. Now you have added the jar files of Selenium, so you can use the classes inside the jar files. For example, I'll create the object of new Firefox driver. Firefox driver is somewhere inside the jar files of Selenium. Okay, and it's a pre-built class. Like I had this capital city class, I had made it, right? So somebody has made the Firefox driver class, which I have imported in jars, and I am creating the object of that class. It's giving me an error. So you need to move the mouse over the error. Hold on, and import it. So if I run it, it will open a browser, but if you run it on your PC, it will not open the browser. Okay, I will tell you in some time that what's happening. Just hold on. You will get an error on this command, but if I run this, it will open. See, a blank Firefox browser has opened. Okay, right. If you want, you can create the object reference. Stop it. You can write Firefox driver fd1 equals to this. Right. Now, but this line will give you an error on your PC because you have to go and download the driver for the browser. Okay, every browser in Selenium has a driver file, has an exe file. Okay, and you need to download that and put it in your system. Right. For example, if you scroll down, you will see platforms supported by Selenium, and if you expand the browsers section, you will see Firefox. And the Firefox guys have given Gecko driver, which is used by Selenium to automate Firefox. Without that, you cannot automate Firefox. Okay, so you open the documentation over here and click on Gecko driver releases and download the 0.28 version. You can download it for your Firefox, for your OS. You can download it. Okay, and you can keep it in your PC like for example in my PC I've kept it over here, the exe file, geckodriver.exe. Okay, so you copy this path and you give the path over here, that is system dot set property. Now system is an internal class in Java. Set property is a static function. You are able to directly call it with the class name. Okay, and you can set some system properties. I can set a system property that is webdriver dot gecko dot driver to the value of this file which I have downloaded. So this file, it is basically given by the Firefox guys. Okay, and this helps Selenium to automate Firefox. Okay, and you need to tell Selenium this way. This line is just telling Selenium. You are setting it in the system properties that this is the path of my geckodriver.exe so that when Selenium starts Firefox, it will know that file. This file is over here and it will be able to automate Firefox. And you can write over here Firefox driver 1 dot. You will get a lot of non-static functions in Firefox driver class. You can use the function get http say yahoo.com. So get function in Firefox driver class, which I'm accessing through this object, will navigate you to a particular URL. So when you run this code, see this opens Firefox and you are taken to yahoo.com, right? Okay, so this is what Firefox driver does. Okay, similarly, you have got Chrome driver, you have got Internet Explorer drivers, different drivers for different browsers. Okay, there are lots of non-static functions inside the Firefox driver class, which we will be looking one by one. Okay, but it is nothing like we had the test city class where we had created the objects of the city, capital city, and called some non-static variables or non-static functions. In Firefox driver class, in order to automate it, you just need to set the system property to Gecko driver and you just need to call the non-static functions. Now Firefox driver is also having static functions, but we don't use them. Okay, if I write Firefox driver dot, you'll get a lot of things, but these are not used so much. Okay, majorly non-static things. Okay, now similarly, you have Chrome driver. Okay, to work with Chrome driver, the first thing is that you have to be checking the version of the Chrome which is there in your machine. Okay, for example, hold on, it's not opening. Just a minute. This is like, for example, it's hanging. Just a minute, guys. Yeah. Over here, if you go to Chrome and you go to help and you go to about Google Chrome, right? So what this will tell you is the current version of Chrome you're having. You need to check out the version. Okay. So out here it says that it is 87.0.420.88. Okay. And if you go to the official website, of Selenium and under the download links, Under the browsers, you will have Chrome as well, right? So you refer the documentation, and I think this is the version of my Chrome. Okay, it is on the latest version. Chrome updates itself automatically. Yeah, 4280.88. Okay, in case you have a different version of Chrome, an older version, okay, you can go in the all available download section and search for the version you are having. Okay, but most probably you will be having this version because Chrome updates itself. Okay, so if I click on this link, it will take me to a directory where I can download the Chrome driver for Mac, for Windows. For Windows, you can download this 32-bit zip file. Okay, hold on. I'm downloading it. If the Chrome updates itself in your PC, then you will have to again download this file. Same in case of Firefox. Okay, these guys, if they update the browsers, you will have to download the browser exe again. Okay, so better is that you should prevent yourself or your browser from updating if it gives you a prompt to update. Okay, because these drivers, they will again have to be downloaded then. So I will extract it, and this is the Chrome driver exe. Okay, so this exe, hold on, I'll copy it in my drivers folder. Just a minute. So basically this exe has to be used in case of Chrome. Okay, and all you need to do is that you need to write the line system dot set property. In case of Chrome, it is, it can't be deleted, fine. It is a web driver dot chrome dot driver. Look, this command is in lowercase. Sometimes key people write W capital for web driver and all, they fall into trouble. Okay, and you copy the Chrome driver over here, right? I'll just copy it over here, and you give the path of Chrome driver dot exe wherever you have kept that exe. Okay, so this will help Selenium to recognize where the exe for Chrome is, and then you just need to create the object of Chrome driver. Okay, and Chrome driver dot get will take you to some website, and when you run this code, okay, I will comment these 3 lines for Firefox. Comment disables the lines, right? And when you run this, so everything in Selenium is inbuilt. You need to understand the inbuilt classes, create the objects of those classes, and use them. Okay, so I'm running this and it's running. It will take some time because it's running for the first time with this version on my machine. Hold on. And yes, somebody was asking me yesterday on call that if Selenium can automate a pre-opened browser. No, this is the problem with Selenium. When you run the script, the browser opens and you have to start off from all over again. QTP as a tool can automate a pre-open existing browser. Okay, but not Selenium, right? So as you see that it has opened BBC. right? Okay. Now, similarly, you have got Edge driver. Okay, Edge is these days Chrome only because behind the Chrome Edge Chromium engine is running. Okay. So anyways, for Edge also you have to do few things. That is, you have to download the exe and all. All right. If you go to the official website, download section, for Edge, they will say that you look at the documentation and you go on this link, you will be taken to the Microsoft website actually. And uh, in my PC, this is Edge. Hold on, I haven't opened it since ages. Just a minute. Hold on. Microsoft Edge. It is not opening. Just a minute. So you have to check the version of your Edge also. Okay, yeah, this is open now. Edge is very stable as compared to Internet Explorer, right? If you go to the settings of Edge and you look at the version about Microsoft Edge in the end, it says 87.0.664.60. Okay, so corresponding to this, you will have like I'm in release 87. Okay, 660. This is the one, I guess. 664.60. Sorry, this is the one. So you can download the exe for your OS from here. Okay, and you can simply have it in the download section. Hold on, I'll extract this. This is also updated in my PC. So you use this exe edge driver and put it somewhere in your PC. D drive common. So I'll put it over here. Okay, MS Edge, and you can simply write again system dot set property webdriver dot edge dot driver. Same commands. Okay, some things will vary, and you have put it under this. This is the exe, and then you create the object of internal class edge driver. Okay. See, if you just write ed and hit control space bar, Eclipse will give you the options of all the classes which are starting with ed. Okay. So you can write edge driver dot get, go to the URL, and this is going to work. Okay. Now, for every browser, I have to download an exe and I have to write the line system.set property. You can avoid this line. Okay, you can avoid writing system.set property line again and again. And how will you avoid that? I'll just tell you. Let Edge launch. You see that it is going to Yahoo. That's fine. Okay, so this is now you can avoid writing these lines. All you need to do is that collect your exes and put them in a folder. Okay, like my exes are here. I'll just create a new folder out here. New folder, and I'll call it driver exes. Right. And you can put all your exes like Chrome driver, Edge driver, all of them inside this particular folder. Even your Gecko driver, which was for Mozilla, you can put it over here. Copy this path and put this path in the environment variables of your PC. Okay, you right click on the PC and go to the properties and you go to advanced system settings. Okay, you will have this window. You go to the advanced tab, go to environment variables, and under system variables, you will be seeing a variable known as path. Okay, edit this path variable and create a new path with the name. That is, these are the driver exes. Okay, right, and click on OK, OK, and restart your PC. Restart your PC, and once you restart your PC, you will not have to write these lines. From that folder, automatically the driver exes will be picked up. If you have a Mac OS, then you have to do this through a command through the shell. I'm not sure exactly how that is done because I have not worked on Mac, but it's quite easy. You just have to set some environment variables. You can search on Google as well how to set environment variables on Mac. Fine. So this way you get away with this first line. Now these are the different drivers. Now suppose if I have to write a script which works on all the browsers, all the major browsers, then will I write a separate script for Firefox because Firefox is having Firefox driver and Chrome is having Chrome driver and Edge is having Edge driver. So for every driver, will I be writing a separate piece of script? The answer to that is no, we don't work like that. Okay, there are solutions available in Java. Okay, and primarily with the help of interfaces in Java. Okay, we avoid writing multiple scripts for each driver. Okay, I will tell you what interfaces are. Okay, so basically I told you what basic objects are. You create a class and you can then create the objects of the class. A class can have static members as well as non-static members. And how do we use the objects in Selenium? There are everything in Selenium is pre-built. It is inbuilt. All the commands are inbuilt. Okay, so you just use these existing commands over here. I hope you are able to understand. If anybody has got any doubts, you please ask me.
Ashish Upinder have one question.
Yeah, your voice is breaking. Maybe you can type as well.
Can we initialize static variables?
Hello,
Declaring
your voice is breaking a lot. Maybe you can type. I am not able to get you. Hello. Okay.
I have a quick
Uh,
question. Can I ask, please?
Yes, just a minute. Just a minute. There is someone
Yes,
who's asked.
Ashish, I just sent a message.
Yeah, can we initialize static variable where we are declaring it? Yeah, Jangam, I just asking, answering your question. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, you if you have a static variable, you can initialize it in the beginning only. That is not a problem. And yes, anybody with any other question?
Yes, regarding this table, I think how static and non-static variables are accessed by static and non-static methods is the rule that when
Yeah,
an
there is a rule. I will tell you about that as well. I haven't deliberately told you right now.
oh, thank you so
Static
much.
functions can only access static variables. This is the rule. Okay, static, if there is a static function in this, if I access the variable capital city, I can access that. But if I access the variable name, okay, then I will actually get an error because the basic reason is that this is somewhere over here. It's not the part of the object. So whose name, which object's name are you trying to set over here? Static is not the part of the object, so you cannot access this. But in non-static, you can access both. Okay. Non-static can access anything, but in static functions, you can only access static variables. Static is only accessible by static. This is the major rule. Okay. We will come over to this gradually. You will understand it as you practice. But honestly, in Selenium, we don't prefer using static some things. Whenever we make a framework, I hardly use static stuff in that because static is something which is common for everything. And if you have to run scripts parallelly, and if you have some common shared variable, it creates a lot of confusion. Okay, so we keep everything non-static, especially in frameworks. Okay, there was a question being asked by Jangam in real time. How are these drivers set? Does each individual executing task needs to be? Look, if you are talking about machines, that how do we set them in different machines? First of all, we make the script in a single machine. We execute it in a single machine. We execute all the tests in the single machine. But if you have multiple machines and if you want to execute the test cases in multiple machines and save time, then we use Selenium Grid. In Selenium Grid, there is one PC, a centralized PC that is known as hub, and we connect all the machines to that hub via IP mappings or something. And that's how it's executed. Okay, so don't get confused over there right now because I'm going to tell you about grid in coming time. Okay.
I thought the difference in TestNG is the framework that you will use to execute on different machines. I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
No, TestNG can run parallelly, but only on a single machine. If you want to run parallelly on multiple machines, you have to use grid with TestNG. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
TestNG can be used to run the test cases parallelly, but on a single machine. If you have multiple machines and all, then grid. Yep. Thing. Now, sorry. So we will stop here. Okay, tomorrow I'll talk about interfaces. Also constructors. I'll start with constructors tomorrow. I'll tell you what constructors are. Okay. And I will mail you the recordings as well for this particular class.
Oh,
Okay.
Because yesterday I missed that class. So do I get access to video from yesterday too?
Yeah, you will get a mail today. Okay.
Okay.
In the email, you will have the recorded session. Okay.
Okay.
So, uh, any assignments? Just look at the video 1 and video 2. Below that, there'll be assignments. Just try to solve those assignments.
From
Okay.
yesterday, I guess.
In the pre-recorded sessions.
Oh, okay.
In the pre-recorded sessions, in first and second session, in OOPS object-oriented sessions, I've kept exercises. Try to do those. Yeah.
Okay.
So fine then, right? We'll stop here and I will mail you the link for tomorrow's session as well as the recording for today.
Okay.
We'll start off with interfaces and especially constructors tomorrow in
Because
Java.
I need to download the web drivers because I missed the class yesterday.
Yeah, you can download that. I'm sending you the link in just 2 hours. You'll get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.